This country, known as the United States of America, has a special way of turning and twisting stories around to tickle the ears of their weak-minded citizens. Hello and welcome again to the Age of Politics podcast. Geopolitical Queen here with today's episode on why the Cuban Juragua nuclear power plant wasn't completed by the Soviet Union in the 50s. The United States, knowing how incapable most of their citizens are when it comes to deep thinking, they sell them in fiction, and like a clean screwdriver, their inept thinking citizens pick them up and start screwing their own ears up until they are totally dismembered in public. So what happened again? In the new American propaganda, after the power grids in Cuba fell out due to a hurricane in September 2024, the American activists who operate as journalists and TV commentators and presenters went on their usual propaganda tour, claiming that Russia promised Cuba a power station in the 50s and failed to deliver. If you believe this story, then I have a mountain in Washington to sell to you for just $1. Following is the history of what really happened. In 1956, Cuba and the malevolent country US signed an agreement for cooperation concerning civil uses of atomic energy. This agreement was reached during the Batista regime. When he was overthrown by Fidel Castro in 1959, the US, as usual, terminated the agreement. After years of several discussions and calls for help from the Soviet Union, Cuba and the Soviet Union finally signed an agreement to construct two 440 megawatt nuclear power reactors. That was the VVER 440 V318 in the south central province of Cienfuegos, near the village of Juragua in 1976. You all know what the US does best, don't you? They sabotaged this project at every turn until the collapse of the Soviet Union finally happened in 1990. That notwithstanding, at the behest of the newly formed Russian Federation, which inherited the Soviet Union, Cuba negotiated with European countries such as Siemens, Segelec, and Skoda to provide instrumentation and control equipment to upgrade the safety standards of the plant. The US will threaten these companies with sanctions, forcing them to pull out of the project. At this time, the new Russian Federation was facing its own financial problems and couldn't help much. In September 1992, Cuba had no other choice than to suspend the construction of the project due to Cuba's inability to meet the financial terms. In 1998, the Russian Ministry of Atomic Energy formed an international consortium again with Siemens, Ansaldo, and Électricité de France to finance the project. As usual, malevolent US quickly pulled out the Helms-Burton Act, an act which continued to strengthen the US embargo against Cuba. Other countries which attempted to help in any way were discouraged from helping Cuba in any way possible. In December 2000, the newly elected Russian President Vladimir Putin visited Cuba and offered Fidel Castro to complete at least one reactor by investing $800 million over the course of 6 years. Castro, tired with this push and pull, subsequently decided that Cuba was no longer interested in completing the twin 440 megawatt reactor plant. This painful decision was made amid the failed attempt to resolve Cuba's debt to the former Soviet Union, which was inherited by Russia. And Russia accepted it with no hard feelings. Today, in the year 2024, to be clear, in October 2024, this futile and reckless United States is roaming about claiming that Russia promised to build a nuclear plant for Cuba and didn't fulfill their promise. As such, the countries signing on to the BRICS agenda should be careful about promises from Russia. The usual same old tricks from the US, isn't it? Meanwhile, the US's role in prohibiting Cuba from building this plant is swept under the carpet, and history is expected to delete this from the history books. Well, at least some people know what the US can do, as well as their rich culture in cheating, bullying, and telling lies. Lest we forget, the US embargo on Cuba since 1960 is still active. Year in, year out, the US uses its veto power at the Security Council to refuse to lift this embargo. So now you know why some countries who want progress and economic development in their countries are moving to the BRICS organization. You just can't live in peace with this country known as America, unfortunately. Well, kindly leave your comments in the comment section below, and thanks for tuning in. I will be back with the next broadcast. Good day.